Hey guys, Paul here from familywheels.ca with another car review for your growing family. And this week, well, we're looking at another redesign of a 7-passenger luxury SUV, a segment that has become more competitive, more luxurious, and more feature-filled than ever. And we're talking, of course, about the likes of the Acura MDX, the BMW X5, the Volvo XC90, a vehicle that we loved a few months ago on our test of its redesign, and of course the Audi Q7 as well. Now the Q7's been around since 2007, and it was getting a little long in the tooth because it really hadn't had a total redesign in its entire lifespan. Little tweaks here and there, but this is the first time it's been a complete from the ground up revisit of the Q7. Now the Q7, according to Audi, has gotten lighter, it's gotten more fuel efficient, it's gotten more powerful, more performance oriented, and it's also in a strange bucking of the trend. While vehicles generally are getting larger, the Q7's actually gotten a little bit smaller from the exterior, but with some clever interior design moves, it's actually more spacious on the inside. And the timing of this review is perfect. My parents are coming into town. We're all gonna hop into this thing, pack all the car seats in there, take it on a little bit of a trip out to the mountains, stick around, all of our standardized tests, and all the rest coming right up on the new Q7. I always see the size of these bags. There are some 7-passenger SUVs that I've jumped into the driver's seat of, and it really does feel like I need a captain's hat and like I'm more steering a cruise ship than an actual car. This vehicle is way less cumbersome than some others that I've gotten into. I actually really enjoy driving it. It was within a few minutes of getting into the Q7 that I'd kind of forgotten that it was a 7-passenger car. It feels a lot more like the Q5 from Audi, its smaller SUV brother. I really liked that car when I tested it a few months ago on the program for you, and I'm feeling the same kind of eagerness and nimbleness here in the Q7, and that's thanks to the 3-liter V6 engine that's on board here in the Q7. Regardless of the trim that you get, you're getting that turbocharged power plant coupled up with an 8-speed automatic transmission, and it really is a peppy little number. There hasn't been a single time in the week that I've had this vehicle where I've thought, I could have used more power there. Whether I'm passing people on the highway or trying to, get up and go off the line from a stoplight, it's always ready to go. And one thing I really like about the Q7, talking about family life here, is that if you've got an RV or a large boat, the Q7 has a pretty remarkable towing capacity considering the fact that it's not based on a truck chassis. This vehicle can tow up to 7,700 pounds, and that's a lot of trailer. But you know what, when I'm not hauling something behind me here, I can use these standard paddle shifters that come on all trims of the Q7 and play around. I can gear down into some windy country roads, and this car all of a sudden comes to life. And it's also a fairly quiet ride. Here I am, I brought the speed of this vehicle up to 100 kilometers an hour. I've got 51 decibels, and considering the fact that we're on run-flat tires, which is another standard feature of the Q7, and those can generally be fairly noisy and give you a fair bit of cabin noise, I really like the way that this car is riding. It's very smooth and very quiet in here. But I really should hope that the Q7 has some pretty serious refinement on board, because its starting price is just over $65,000, and that climbs up to this package that I'm in here today, which pretty much has all the bells and whistles that you could ever imagine on the Q7 for just over 90 grand. Now the amazing thing about the Q7 is that for the first time here in 2017, it actually is dethroning the A8, which is Audi's flagship sedan and often sort of the showpiece for Audi in terms of all the technology that it can host. And this vehicle has more technology and more comfort on board than even the A8, which actually can max out at a much higher price point. You're getting a lot in this Q7 for $90,000. Let's go down that list, shall we? Because the standard kit on the Q7 is 3-zone automatic climate control, leather seating, 3 rows of seating as well. We've got a panoramic sunroof. You've got some pretty excellent equipment here on the infotainment system as well for the base price. Paddle shifters, as I mentioned before. But when we get into the $90,000 edition of the Q7 that I've got here today, I have everything from air ride suspension which allows you to adjust the height of the vehicle to the road surface. So I can drop this right down to almost sedan-like ground clearance. It really gives you a sporty ride, or jack this up to a very capable off-roader as well. And of course, that adjustable suspension just matches up perfectly with Audi's legendary Quattro all-wheel drive system as well. You can't go without mentioning that. We've also got four-wheel steering. So the base Q7 is just like a standard vehicle where the front wheels are the only wheels that are actually steering you. But here in this Q7, all four wheels are turning together. Means that you've got a turning radius 1 meter shorter here in this vehicle compared to the base Q7. It just turns on a dime here in the city. And then we also have a $5,100 sound system from Bang & Olufsen on board here. And you better be a pretty serious audiophile to upgrade to this package, but I have to say that it does sound remarkable. You really crank the volume up in this. It's a 3D sound system, and I am just engulfed. Some of the other features that are a little wild in this car, and I kind of laughed at it first, are massaging seats. That's not a standard feature. That's something that you have to buy as well on top of the base price. But these seats I laughed at, and I thought, oh man, I'm never going to use those. To be honest with you, ever since I've gotten on board this Q7, I've had them on pretty much full time, and they are fantastic. Now, speaking of the infotainment system, let me break it down here for you and show you some of the features that I love and some that I'm not so crazy about. Everything is controlled by this dial here in the center console. And some people prefer a touchscreen, I personally do, and some prefer a dial like this. That's going to be a personal choice. I just find that a touchscreen is much more intuitive because we've got them around us all the time, every day these days. But we start to wade through these menus here on the Q7, and there is a lot of different stuff that you can do here in this infotainment system. If you're a real techie and you like to be able to adjust everything from the color of the light strips here, the LED lighting in the door panels, to how long the lights will stay on for at your feet as you enter and exit the vehicle, you're gonna have a lot of fun setting this vehicle up. But if you're not so much a techie and you find that you kind of get lost in menus like this, you're gonna find that it's a pretty convoluted system, and I just wish that it was perhaps a little bit easier to navigate your way through. Once you do find the function that you're after here in the infotainment system, let's say navigation, which I love, by the way. Audi's got a really fantastic navigation software here in the Q7. Then you've got a few options of how to input an address or a phone number. So first up, you can use this dial, as we've been doing all along. You can use voice recognition to speak the address, or you can use this scratch pad down here, which is also in the center console. And I gotta be honest, it drives me a little bit crazy. It's this great big pad that allows you to draw slowly the letters of the address or the numbers of the phone number, and it'll eventually pop up and you can go to that destination. But it's really cumbersome and it takes a lot of time. And if you want to talk about, you know, distracted driving, well, we've got it right here. The much easier and faster way to do it would just be going through voice recognition. And this thing does take up so much real estate here on the center console that all of a sudden I look over here and the cup holders are tiny. Most of our travel mugs and all of our water bottles that we've got at home can't fit into these cup holders. If it were me, I'd say ditch the scratch pad, give me a bit more cup holder space. A couple of the optional technology features that I'm just loving here in this tester that we've got today include the virtual cockpit that displays all kinds of interesting information on this beautiful clear screen right in front of you here where the instrument cluster is in front of the driver. And we've also got an optional heads-up display here in this tester. So right on the windscreen, we've got information like our current speed and the current speed limit in the area as well. So Audi actually has a camera built up into the rear view mirror here, and that camera is constantly looking for speed limit signs. I think that's a really cool feature, and it means that you kind of can keep your eyes on the road a little bit more without having to look around at all these screens that surround you here in the Q7. Okay, so I want to spend a fair bit of time today looking at the second row and third row seating with you, because if you're getting a 7-passenger SUV, it's obviously something that's important to you. And available to you regardless of the trim on the Q7 is 7-passenger seating here in Canada, so you don't have to pay a premium on top of the base price to get that. And as a tall guy, 6'2", I've got good headroom, and I've also got tons of legroom back here, so I could be on a long road trip and feel super comfortable. And then speaking of comfort, if you're going for some of the upper level trims of the Q7, you can get this 4-zone climate control. You've also got heated seats in the second row on some of the upper level trims of the Q7. Some of the things that seem weird to me, we've already talked about tiny cup holders in the front row, and here we are again with even smaller cup holders for the second row passengers. And then weird also are these old school ashtrays. I don't know what decade we're in, but ashtrays in both of the rear passenger doors. Now let's talk about the third passenger row and talk about comfort there. One thing that's nice about the Q7, and you've got this available to you on the XC90 from Volvo as well, is this pull handle here, which allows you to slide this second row forward. It means that your second row is going to sacrifice some leg room, but you're going to get a bit more leg room for third row passengers. And you can also create a bit more cargo room if you do that too. But let's put that back to kind of a standard setting. Flip this seat forward and then get into the third row and show you what it looks like back there, because it's tight, man. I'm gonna be honest, it's really not meant for adults. Oh yeah, my headroom is squished. I'm having to kind of set my knees off on angle even just to squeeze back here. It's not for full-size people, but if you've got preteen kids or kids who are in child seats, you can definitely squeeze a couple more people back here. Now let's talk about the cargo capacity when you've got that third row up, because it's going to suffer, but it's still not bad considering the fact that we've got 7 passenger seating right now. Our standard amount of gear here, a soccer ball, a couple of bags of groceries, a diaper bag, a backpack, and a fold-up stroller, and man, you couldn't fit anything else in there, but still not bad considering. And if you really want to soak up more gear, a motorized system will actually flip the seats down for you. So I've reconfigured the trunk here for you, flipped down that third row seating and shifted that same amount of gear off to one side to show you just how spacious this trunk is when the third row is down. We had our full-size dog back here as well as a great big chariot on a trip out to the mountains this past week. Both fit back there without issue. It is a pretty large trunk. And one thing, if you want to talk about geeky features, if you've got the family dog and you've got the optional air ride suspension, you can push this button right here and the back end of the vehicle is actually going to squat down. Means that the dog can jump up more comfortably, or if you've got really heavy equipment that you're throwing into the back of this or something, that it'll be that much easier to load things up. I think that's kind of a cool feature. Now we've got a rear facing car seat here in place, and those can be a bit of a challenge for front row passenger comfort because they do take up a fair bit of room, but not the case here in the Q7. We've got about 10 inches of leg room, and it means that I'm super comfortable up here. Lots of headroom still, and even as a tall adult, rear-facing car seats aren't going to be an issue for you. Now, when we're talking about family living, one thing I do want to mention is that if you go for the comfort package and you've got those massaging seats and the Valcona leather and all the rest, that you're also getting ventilated seats. And it means that you're going to have air conditioning coming up through the seats and keeping you cool on hot summer days. But these ventilation holes, these tiny little perforations, really hard to keep clean for family living. They're also here in the back row. And yeah, one thing I would consider doing is if you go for these higher level Valcona seats, they are still very durable for, you know, high grade leather, but maybe consider throwing something down in the back because these can be really challenging to keep clean. Well, I have to say that at over $90,000 for this vehicle as it's kitted out today, it's definitely the most expensive of the tests that I've ever done for you before on Family Wheels, but it's also the most comfortable and the most feature-filled vehicle as well. It's remarkable how much has been packed into this Q7. But regardless of the trim you get, even if you go for the lower level trims, what I love about this car is the ability that Audi has found to have both a fun vehicle to drive, very sporty feeling, yet also very capable. It's a 7-passenger SUV that can still tow a great deal behind you. The sweet spot there that Audi has found is quite remarkable. But I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this new Q7. How do you think it matches up to the competition? Where do you think it stands out? And what would you maybe even like to see tweaked even further? You can leave a comment below. I'd love to have you subscribe as well. Find me on Twitter at Family Wheels, and then of course there's always the website as well, familywheels.ca. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in about a week.